BBL Supercoach is open. We've got plenty of content coming for you in the preseason, but we're starting out with an initial team reveal. See our first drafts. We're going to give you the reasons behind our picks. We're also going to let you know our content plans for the season and much more. So let's get into it.
6 to win, 4 for a super over. More! Oh, there it is! Yeah, beauty! He's hitting 6 off the final. The Thunder is still alive. What a finish!
You are now listening to the Insight Fantasy Sports Podcast.
Welcome to the Insight BBL show, the first of the Insight BBL shows on the Insight Podcast Network. I'm the Supercoach Brain. You can find me on X at SC_Brain, and I'm joined by my co-host for the BBL season, the big horse, Mickey Dell. Can you smell the Christmas Big Bash cricket in the air?
Oh, I can, so much so that I'm coming off the long run, mate. Here we go. You can locate me, SC_Big Horse on X. How are we, mate?
I'm well, mate. We're about 6 weeks away, aren't we, from Big Bash kicking off? Supercoach has finally opened, and we've been playing around with our team for a little bit now, probably a little bit over a week. Yeah. But we thought, why not just rip in? Why not get the content started? We'll talk first drafts today. But, mate, before we do that, the show is, of course, brought to you by the Standard Squeeze, helping you drink responsibly and conveniently, and Ryan from Astute Newstead. For all your residential home loan needs, you can hit Ryan up. We'll talk about him a little bit later, but thanks for the support from these guys for the show. Guys, make sure to hit like on the episode if you like the content, and of course, hit that subscribe button if you haven't yet. If you're listening on audio, whether it's Spotify, Apple, or Google Podcasts, you can also hit follow there. Leave us a review if you want. It can be a 5-star one if you're a good bloke or female. We would. And of course, guys, we're running an unlimited group again. For anybody who followed us through NRL or AFL or if you're currently watching the NBL Supercoach show over there, you know we run an unlimited group every single season. So that code is 482267. 482267. We're going to be giving away a Supercoach Champions ring. It says BBL on it and everything. It's actually pretty cool. And for that's for the overall winner. And then for the weekly top score, we're going to be giving away a prize pack or a combo pack courtesy of our good friends over at the Standard Squeeze. Pretty cool, right?
That's awesome, isn't it? You get to play in a free league and potentially win prizes. What more could you want?
100%. Yeah. So, mate, I guess we'll kick things off by letting everybody know what to expect for the season, mate. Do you want to take us through that?
Yeah, sure. So for this season or during the season, we'll be bringing you one show per round, reviewing the week just gone and looking forward to the upcoming round, covering trade targets, captains, and also answering all your questions live in show and more. In the preseason, which is the next 6 weeks, we have nearly 20 shows planned. So quite a bit of content for our viewers at home, from a roster preview of each team to positional analysis, must-have premiums, mid-ranges, and cash cows. And we'll be talking through all of our booms, smokies, and players to stay away from for BBL 13.
Looking forward to it.
And you know what? Every question gets answered at Insight as well. So pop into the lives and get involved. Or if you can't make it into a live, drop us your questions on the playback, and one of us will reach you out and answer. And also, hit us up on Discord. We've got a BBL group on Discord. The link will be below the show here in the comments. So click on the link. Follow BBL, hit us up there.
That's it. We're going to get a community team going as well. I know the NBL guys have been doing that, and it's a little bit of a new idea on our end. So, and that's been going quite well. So basically the community, if you're in Discord, you can vote on the trades that we make. We're going to be doing a fair few, votes in terms of positions to get the team established and set up as well. So everything that happens with this community team will be run by our Discord community. So we'll see how far we go. And if we end up winning any money, or if we get to the end and we win a weekly prize or something like that, we'll donate the money to charity. So, pretty cool incentive and gives everybody a little bit of a say throughout the season at Insight too, which is cool. Mate, before we share our first team draft, let's talk about the scoring system because, you know, we might have some new people here. We might have people that are new to BBL Supercoach. Maybe you've played other styles of Supercoach or other sports, but we'll talk through the scoring. So, mate, let's talk batsman first. It's pretty obvious that you get 1 point per run, so that's where everything starts. They give you a bit of a run bonus though. So if your player reaches 50 runs, they get a 10-point bonus, and if they reach 100 plus, they get a 20-point bonus. So plenty of incentive there for your players to go on with it with the bat. And then in addition to that, you've got a strike rate bonus as well. So just so everyone is aware, to activate the strike rate bonus eligibility, your batsman must make 20 or more runs for that to kick in. So when we're talking strike rate, we're talking 120 to 129 strike rate is 5 bonus points, 130 to 139 is 10 bonus points, 140 to 149 is 15, 150 to 159 is 20. And if your batsman smokes them at over 160 strike rate, which, hey, it's happened a fair bit in the last few seasons, you get 25 bonus points. So, and there were a few big examples of that last year, weren't there?
Yeah, awesome. I really like this concept, given that, you could be batting at 6, you may only have 3 overs, you make a quick fire 30 off 10 balls, and boom, you get your 25 bonus points. Really like it.
Easiest 55 points that you'll ever get there from a little quick 6-over stint. So plenty of incentive, mate. Do you want to take us through the bowlers points and how that all works? Yeah,
for sure. So for bowlers, true to form, 10 points for every wicket. You get 10 bonus points for every 3 wickets. A maiden is worth 15 points. A dot ball is worth 1 point. Extras -1, and economy bonus. So I really like this asset of the game as well. So 7 to 8 runs per over, 5 runs per over. 6 to 7 runs per over, you get 10 bonus points. 5 to 6 runs per over, 15 points. 4 to 5 runs per over equals 20 points. And under 4 runs and over, 25 points. Bowlers must bowl 3 overs to activate the bonus points.
Yeah, cool. And so that's going to be, I guess, the theme that we're looking for. Are we looking for batsmen in our team that are going to get the opportunity to hopefully get to 20 so that they can activate their strike rate bonus? And we're also looking for guys that are going to bowl 3 overs. Whilst it's not invaluable for you to find bowlers that might bowl a quick over or 2 here and there, you'll be relying heavily on wickets there and potentially dot balls to get your score up there, whereas those economy rate bonus points for bowlers are incredibly valuable. If you get your 3 to 4 overs done and they go 3 for 20, you're in a pretty good spot. You've got some pretty good bonus points there. So just so for all the newcomers, hopefully you understand the scoring there. Reach out to us if you have any questions on how that all works, but we'll be tapping into that, and a lot of the reasoning behind the players that we're picking is probably going to come down to the scoring system and how that all works as well, because it does suit specific players. Lots of all-rounders and dual position players we'll be considering this year that do a bit of both, which will be pretty valuable this year too.
For sure.
Mate, before we talk initial team drafts, we'll reveal, I should say, your team first, mate. But do you want to throw over to the standard squeeze very quickly? Give us a rundown, mate.
Yeah, just in short, great bunch of blokes at standard squeeze. As you can see there by Braino and myself, we've got our 4-in-1s here. We've got our standard squeeze caps. They do merchandise. We've got our flasks here. We've got our thermoses, I guess you could say. Your coffee's warm, your cold drink's cold. What you can do, guys, at checkout, put in Insight 15. So anything that you buy at the standard squeeze, you get 15% off, courtesy of the guys at the standard squeeze. So even if you don't purchase anything, just jump on the website, have a bit of a look. They've got a wide variety of nice gear, as we said before, merchandise and drinking equipment. And yeah, tell them the guys at Insight Fantasy Sports sent you.
Absolutely. Very good blokes over there. They've looked after us for nearly a year now. As long as we've been running the pod, they were first on, and can't speak highly enough of them. So, and they also donate that weekly prize in the Unlimited League as well. So make sure you get in that one. Hopefully, if you can jag the highest score for the week, 1, you'll be on track to probably win the overall, but 2, you get yourself a nice little prize pack as well to go with it.
And if prior form in other leagues that we've been running is anything to go by, we've had just last week, the BBL winner for the league was in our league and is currently sitting 2nd overall. So there's some very competitive people in the leagues.
100%. There is, which is awesome. So, mate, let's people are here to see what our teams look like. So let's rip into that, mate. We'll share your team first, just so that we can give everybody an idea and a reason as to why you've chosen certain players. So, mate, kick us off. We'll start with the wicket keepers. Hey, what's your couple of choices here and the reasoning behind those?
Yeah, so as we can see, I'm starting with Ben McDermott on field, 88k. He's a dual position wicketkeeper batsman that I really like to have the flexibility there, so they're not just stuck in the one position, especially for a wicketkeeper. 2022-2023 season, he started off at 211k, which if he was in this league, he'd be probably the third highest in regards to monetary value, but disappointed owners with an average score of 28.4 last season. He had a top score of 135, so he proved at one stage that he was still worth it to some degree. In 2021-2022 season, he averaged 73 points, which was ranked second overall for the league. He dropped 132k from the start of last season to the end of this last season, which screams value to me if it can get back to where he left off in the 2021-22 season. He will open the batting for Hobart, and with short square boundaries where his favourite shot is off the back foot, I'm tipping there's a comeback here for him. Did you know that he has not been this cheap since the 2016-2017 season as well, Braino?
Yeah, I'm not surprised at all, to be honest. He was very quiet last year. Spoiler alert, he's in my team, and I think he's in, 50-odd% of teams at the moment that we've seen draft so far.
Yeah.
So no surprise. He's a great value option, and you know that he's a guy that can go and get you 120 off 60. And the opportunity is going to be there for him, isn't it?
Very much so. And you know what? Career strike rate of 138, with an average of 33 to go with it. So when we're talking about bonus points for strike rate, to be activated by getting over 20 runs, whenever that may be, there's some nice bonus point opportunities there with Ben McDermott as well.
100%. And you've got another pretty popular option there as your bench wicketkeeper, mate. You want to talk through Josh Philippe?
Yeah, I do. Josh Philippe, Sydney Sixers, 102.7k, dual position wicketkeeper batsman. So for me, Philippe is very much a risk reward for me, given that his first 3 weeks he plays the Renegades, Hurricanes, and Strikers, of which he averages close to 55 collectively against these teams. He started last season 168k, whereas this year we get to sneak him in at 66k less than that. Struggled at the back end of last year, scoring 11, 20, and 18, which is the big reason why his price has dropped as much as what it has. And as I said previously with Mr. McDermott, nice dual position wicketkeeper batsman. He was also BBL 09 player of the tournament, so the pedigree is there for him to bounce back. He has a career strike rate of 110 and an average of almost 30. Down year last year, averaging nearly 18 with the bat and a strike rate of 117. But as I said earlier, tipping a comeback season for Josh.
Very uncharacteristic of Philippe, isn't it? So I mean, you look at every other year, he's averaged 30, 33, 32 with the bat, and then you see a year of 17. It's hard not to kind of run at that and just screams value 102,000 for a guy that could easily get up to 200k at some point during this year if he gets it right. And we know that he loves playing at the SCG. So if the Sixers have a run of games at the SCG, he's a guy you almost have to get in.
Mm-hmm. And a nice double game week to start off with.
Yep, absolutely. We'll talk schedule as well. We won't probably dive into the schedule yet. That'll be a separate episode. But there's definitely a lot of reasons schedule-based that we're picking a lot of these guys.
For sure. Let's move into the batsman, mate. So my first pick in my side, I believe he is the most expensive player alongside Jai Richardson, but that's Matt Short from the Adelaide Strikers, 244k dual position batsman bowler. So the man's price speaks for itself, averaging almost 80 Supercoach points per game in 22-23. A damaging opening batsman who has also opened the bowling some gentle offies and picking up the occasional wicket. This man can score in a variety of ways, not just as a batsman, but as a bowler. Short scored 458 runs last season, an average of 35, and a strike rate of 144 to go with it. Then with the ball, he claimed 11 wickets at an average of 22 with an economy rate of just over 7. Short recently scored a century for Victoria when everyone else looked shithouse at the crease. He looked solid. He was still scoring at almost a run of ball as well. For me, the man is primed for a big season. Double game weeks in week 2 and week 6. Plan accordingly. What are you doing with this man?
Oh, should I? I'll let you know now. I'm not starting with him. One, because he, like you just mentioned, is the most expensive player in the game. So for me, I'm like, would I rather spread that cash? Are there better options that are players on a double game week to kick off? Mm-hmm. I guess with the Strikers as well, one thing to consider is they start with a single, which is fine. You can pick players on a single game week. That's okay. But week 3 or round 3, I should say, they have a bye. So you're going to have to look at, they've got the single to start, then they've got a double. And it could be genius if he pops off in game 1 and you've got him sitting there, you've got him ready for the double. Everyone's going to be scrambling in week 2 to get this guy in, and then they're going to have him for 2 games and he's going to be on the bye next week and he's going to fuck everyone. So it's a lot of money to have sitting on your bench in a bye week in round 3 too. So that's more my thinking around it. I think I'm probably going to start without him, but if he does well, I'll bring him in round 2.
Yeah, for sure. And it's that perfect risk-reward strategy, isn't it? Would you rather
100%.
have someone that's going to score 100 in one game or, 102 games, or how we're going to go about this? That's what we're here for, to talk strategy.
Let me say one more thing on Matt Short. How confident are you that he bowls this year?
Very.
Okay,
Very
I'm not.
confident.
I look at the strikers lineup, and I don't know whether the overs are going to be there for him. I mean, they used to use him a lot initially, right off the bat. He'd usually bowl the opening over potentially, or one of the first couple of overs. But they're I don't know, they're pretty deep strikers. They've got a lot of bowling options there. I'm going to try and bring up this squad if I can find it very quickly. But I don't know whether I'm as confident as you that he's going to get the 3 overs potentially that we need for economy rate bonus. But one of us is going to be right. One of us is going to be wrong. We'll see who it's going to be.
Yeah, that's right. I love that. My thinking behind it is, yes, you're right. They are deep, which is why I believe batsmen are going to try and get after him a little bit more, which may in turn lead to more wickets. So watch this space on this one.
Fair call.
I'll move to the next one while you're still researching that. My next pick is Aaron Hardy. Yep. So this bloke, if my daughter was old enough, he'd be the type of bloke that I'd love my daughter to bring home to introduce to me. He's a good-looking bloke. He's great at cricket. Man, he's just the total package. He's my favourite player. So Aaron Hardy really came into his own last season, being one of the more dominant BBL players in the league. Mind you, he's at 178.3K, but he is a dual position batsman bowler status as well. With a career average so far of 28.4 runs with a strike rate of 136 with the bat and an average of 29 with the ball, having already taken 20 wickets in his career as well, this is setting him up to be big this year. And he's already a fringe Australian player. Started last year priced at 99K, ended up finishing the year at 171K, averaging almost 58 Supercoach points per game. Cons for Hardy is that double game week in week 1, single game weeks in 2 and 3, then no games in 4 and 5. So we'll have to look out for that one. But he is going to bat in the top 5 and he's going to bowl second or third change with a good chance of bowling his over. He's got a career economy rate of 8.5 as well.
Yeah, if he bowls, if he gets overs, he's a lock for me. He's the top scorer in BBL last year. For good reason. He batted 3 and everybody was a little bit worried, with when's Mitch Marsh coming back and all that kind of stuff. And the fact that there's a good chance that Mitch Marsh doesn't see any BBL this year just kind of solidifies Hardy's role, I think, for the Scorchers. He should bat 3. Hopefully he'll get some overs through the middle. And also we see the rotation of the bowlers for Perth Scorchers as well. It's very rare to see a fast bowler bowl probably more than 3 games in a row before they get a rest. We know Voges loves to kind of rotate his quicks. So maybe that opens the door for Hardy to get some regular overs. Who knows? It's all guessing work at the moment, but the Scorchers are a quality squad with some good quicks. So it'll be interesting to see if he gets a bowl. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. And they do have some injury issues at the moment too. So at the moment, he's a lock to bowl, but let's see how this goes.
Yep.
My next pick is probably one of my favourite international players, and that's Colin Munro from the Brisbane Heat. 156K, but he is only a batsman. For me, he is Brisbane's best batsman. When he's on, there's few others that are better to watch. He is very flamboyant, can play shots all around the wicket. He's a lock to bat in the top 4 for Brisbane, fairly consistent with only 4 out of his 14 at-bats last season, scoring less than 10. He did miss 5 games due to international commitments at the end of last year. Triple game week in week 1, which could mean big for the Kiwi, with an average of over 50 combined against the teams he plays in the first week. So if he even just runs at his average in the first week, 150 points straight off the bat. He averaged just short of 51 Supercoach points last season with a strike rate of 156.
Guy's a gun, isn't he? Good player. He's in for me too. There's a lot of players here that will double up on. So the good thing is I won't have to explain too many when we get to my team. But the T10 League in Abu Dhabi at the moment, depending on how deep, because he's playing in that, depending on how deep his team goes into finals, he might miss round one, which is huge considering that the Brisbane Heat have a triple game week, right? So a lot of the time and a lot of drafts we've seen, Brisbane Heat players are everywhere. People have 4, 5, 6 Brisbane Heat players, but a lot of them have availability issues in round one. We'll talk about Michael Nisa soon. I'm sure he's in the conversation somewhere. But Munro, that T10 League in Abu Dhabi, he might miss round one if his team goes deep into that. So that's something to watch out for later.
And what better way than to stay up to date by liking and subscribing to the Insight Fantasy Sports? We'll bring you all that breaking late news as it comes to hand.
Mm-hmm.
My next one, how can you not have this bloke in the side? The Big Show, Glenn Maxwell. Melbourne Stars, 118k, dual position bat and bowler. I'm going to be frank here. The Big Show does whatever the fuck he wants, whenever the fuck he wants. The man is a gun. After a bit of a down World Cup, Maxwell's going to be keen to make amends of this. He hasn't really done much in the World Cup so far. The man has averaged 42 with the bat at a strike rate of 159, all while bowling the occasional offie, picking up 4 wickets in BBL 11. Spent last year on the sidelines after that shit knee injury that he had while at a mate's birthday party, I believe it was, that required surgery. Hence why we see him at a bargain price this year for such an explosive player. In Maxwell's last full season of BBL, he averaged 63.6 Supercoach points. Don't sleep on him.
You don't even need to fucking talk about him. Get him in your team, leave him there. That's it.
Yep.
They're on a double game week to start the season as well. He's the captain. He'll bowl his overs. I'm more confident he'll get his overs than Short does. Maxwell will bowl himself. You can guarantee that. He's got another, I think, spinner. Osama Mir and Bo Webster are basically the only other 2 spinners in this whole squad for the Melbourne Stars. Bo Webster probably used more as a kind of part-time guy to get through overs a bit quicker if you need to. Osama Mir is a top leggy coming through for Pakistan, but Maxwell's going to bowl 4 overs. He could even open the bowling. We've seen him do that multiple times as well, and he's going to bat 3 or 4, isn't he? Like, this is a guy you don't even need to talk about. Just get him in your team at 118k because he's worth 200.
Yep. I know I'm digressing a little bit here, but Webster bowling offies, it's kind of like, remember Suleiman Ben that played at West Indies, just bowling the 6 foot 100 bowling offies? You should be ripping bounces around people's ears at 150Ks, mate. Come on.
Yeah.
Anyway, I digress.
No, mate, if I was, if I could put in less effort and still get the same result, I'd do it too, Bo. Don't worry.
Yeah. Work smarter, not harder. The next one I've got in my squad at the moment is a little bit of a dark horse for people, but I'm picking him to have a big year this year, and that's Jack Edwards from the Sydney Sixers, 62.5k, which is basically a rookie price. He is tipped to be one of the next big things in Australian cricket. Already has 4 first-class centuries, which include 2 List A centuries to his name, and scores the ball at a really nice strike rate. For me, people are flirting with the idea of bringing Edwards in because his ceiling is being an elite all-rounder in this format. He can bowl, he can bat, he's pretty good in the field as well, but his floor is of that someone that bowls 1 or 2 overs maybe, bats at 7 with minimal impressions on the game. So I'm going to be interested to see what happens in the pre-season leading into round 1. Only 2 weeks ago, though, he made 87 and took 6 for 36 in the Sheffield Shield game against Queensland. So the form's there. He can bowl and he can bat. Could be an absolute steal at this price given his potential and his ability to go large with bat or ball. What do you reckon?
I like that pick. I think we're picking him based on what we know he can do, not what he has done. So that's obviously why he's at 62.5, right? So he's bargain basement price, bit of a flyer, a guy that you probably won't even need to play every week, and you've got a couple of guys on your bench there around that same price that you could easily slot in whenever they've got double game weeks or whatever. But if it comes off for you, everyone's going to be scrambling to get him in round 2 if he has a big one in the first 2.
Yeah, aren't they? Yeah. My next one, I'm not so sold on yet. Darcy Short, Adelaide striker, 67.5k, batsman only. which if you asked me 2 years why, or if I was going to be hesitant on bringing him in, you'd call me crazy. It's amazing to see someone who has been so damaging at the past, and priced accordingly only 2 years ago to be at our disposal at only 67K. It'll be interesting to see how Adelaide use Short, though. Do they open him with, it's not his brother, but the other Short? Or will he bat at 5 or 6 and just go nuts in the last 4 or 5 overs if he has to? For me, if he starts, it's a low-risk, high-reward scenario right here. In 2019-2020, he averaged 85.7 Supercoach points per game. That's nuts. So the pedigree's there. Even if he averages half of that, we're going to make some serious coin out of him. Career average of 37 in BBLs at a strike rate of 132. He's also taken 34 wickets bowling his gentle offies at a strike rate of 25, economy rate of 8.5 as well with the ball. What do you make of this guy, mate?
You've got to start with him, I guess. It's one of those guys that, again, and a lot of high upside guys that we're talking about here, aren't we? The guys that can go, massive and score 100 plus. That's what you're looking for in BBL. I think he does open the batting. I think Matt Short and Darcy Short should open the batting for Adelaide. I like the fact that now that he's going to play a lot more games at Adelaide Oval with nice short square boundaries, so that suits him to a T. Yeah. I don't know whether he bowls though. Yeah, I don't know whether he bowls. Yeah. I don't think he bowls. He didn't bowl last year for Hobart. I don't see him bowling this year either.
You were just looking up the squad that Adelaide have, and you were questioning whether Matt Short was even going to bowl. And for me, Matt Short is a much better 2020 bowler than Darcy Short. Next,
yeah, I'll come back to that because I did end up looking up their squad. Wes Agar will get his 4 overs. Henry Thornton will get his 4 overs. You've got Rashid Khan there as well, who's going to be the frontline spinner. He'll get his 4 overs. And then they've also signed James Bazley from Brisbane Heat from last year. Ooh, so Bazley should bowl either death or get his overs done in the middle. And then you've also got Jamie Overton coming over from England. He's an all-rounder at 125K. He could get his overs in as well. So, there's 5 bowlers there without even mentioning Matt Short or Darcy Short. So, and look, we're playing a few guessing games. This is just predictions in terms of how we think these lineups are going to look based on the squads we've got. But I don't know. I'm more confident if it says anything that Matt Short bowls over Darcy Short, but I'm not confident either of them do, to be honest.
Is Matt Short the captain there at Adelaide?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's going to bowl himself, sure.
Maybe he bowls himself. He seems like a really good bloke, though. So maybe he doesn't.
I reckon if he watches this podcast or watches this episode, sees that we've got the C on him, he'll bowl himself 4 overs. Has to. Come on, mate.
He does seem like that kind of guy, doesn't he? Yeah. Do it for us.
Yeah, ripper bloke. Doesn't like letting people down. That's right. The last batter I have as my emergency is Jake Fraser McGurk. Melbourne Renegades, 62.5K batsman only. While his average so far in BBLs is only at a paltry 18.3, I feel again that this is a low-risk, high-reward pick for me. We've seen what he can do with the bat, especially recently, scoring the fastest ever century in 50-over cricket here in Australia. He's an elite fielder. We've seen some highlights of his catches. He definitely knows how to hold a grab and can throw the stumps down as well. He's still only 21 years of age and appears ready to take the next step now that he's been given that opportunity with Adelaide. He will bat in the top 4 for me. Tell me, what are your thoughts, mate?
Yeah, it makes sense. I like it. He's not in my team at the moment. I feel like maybe there might be an overreaction to a certain degree to that 100, which fair enough. Fair play. When a guy can get 100 off 29 balls or whatever it is and break the record of the fastest 100 in 50 over cricket, like you got to consider the bloke at basement price, don't you? But and Renegades have a nice schedule to open up. They've got a double into a single into a double. So they've got 5 games in 3 rounds, worth a flyer. I don't mind it, especially if you're sitting on your bench. It's more of a cash grab opportunity there, isn't it, if you're not going to play him?
Yep, absolutely. That's right.
Take us into your bowlers, mate.
Yeah, let's go into the bowlers as we look at the KFC ad down the bottom there. Wouldn't mind a zinger box myself, but we'll get into that later. My first pick, and I really like this player, and it's Sean Abbott, 197K bowler only status. This guy has been, in my eyes, extremely lucky not to have played more for Australia. For me, he bowls well. He can throw the bat around, make some quick fire runs. He has a best bowling in this format of 5 for 16 with a strike rate of 14, which is elite. We are talking about our economy rates before and strike rates and what have you. This guy has the potential to make some massive bonus points for us. He can also throw the willow around when required, having made valuable runs in the past when required. He does have shield hundreds to his name. And for me, alongside Rashid Khan, these two are the pick of the bowlers in this competition.
Yeah, he is a guy that I want to find room to get in my team, and I don't have him currently, but he's going to get the death overs. And again, we talk about the death overs a lot, and we'll talk about that a lot in the preseason, but the death overs are so crucial. It's, you got batsmen swinging the bat around. For a good death bowler like Sean Abbott, he should be able to snag at least a wicket or two in those final couple of overs if the batsmen are playing rash shots. Hits his Yorker really well. Has an awesome kind of leg-cutting slow ball as well. So knows what he's doing at the back end of the innings and can easily jag a couple of wickets there to prop up that score. So perfect, perfect pick. Can't go against Abbott.
No. And then someone else who I think is going to, I didn't actually look at this guy until I read into how you score your points with maidens and runs per over and stuff. Michael Nessa, 194 batsman bowler. This man has probably been the most informed all-rounder in the world that hasn't played for his country for the past 12 months. Multiple hundreds, 10-wicket games, 5-wicket hauls. What more does this man need to do to get a baggy green? He's been phenomenal of late. In this format, however, his numbers haven't been that great, but he's currently in the form of his life, and I'm backing him to have a big tournament here. With an average of 24 with the ball and a strike rate of 17, but also with the bat, he's got a strike rate of 122 with an average of 14, which I expect both to be improved on this summer.
Yeah. I think so. He had a career BBL year, we'll call it, last season, didn't he? So I think he went the last 4 or 5 years before this. He averaged 40 odd Supercoach points. So didn't light the place up. Did his job, but wasn't amazing. You wouldn't call him a top 20 player in Supercoach. But last year he lit it up, and I think he averaged 60 odd, 62, I think it was. He's pretty much a plug and play captain. Does a bit of both. Yeah, 62.6 he averaged last year. So that's what he's priced on this year. He's a bat bowler, so you can have him up in the batsman slot if you really want to. Brisbane on the triple. The only issue now with Michael Nessa is he's probably the one that has the most availability questions up in the air. Reason for that is the Prime Minister's 11 played in that last year. Does he play in it again this year? I don't know whether he plays 2 years in a row, if I'm completely honest. He's got twins on the way in December. Congratulations to him and his partner, but not great for BBL Supercoaches. So he could honestly be gone for a week, and we miss out on the triple game week. So you've got to definitely keep an eye on that. We'll keep you up to date with it on the podcast, but keep an eye out on X as well. I'm sure there's some good updates out there. And does he get picked finally as in the test squad? That's another question we need to ask. And how exhausted is Mitchell Starc, Josh Hazlewood, and Patrick Cummins going to be after the World Cup? Are any of them going to get a rest? Is that the way that he's going to find himself at a baggy green for the first test against Pakistan? So if he plays and if he gets named, he's in for me. That's not even a question. Yep. He'll be probably my captain in round 1 as well if he does play. But there's way too many question marks at the moment floating around with him. So he can basically be like a little bit of a placeholder for you, can't he? Like you can just lock that cash up in him. And then if we get closer to the end of the year, the start of the season, and we find out that he's out, you could go to an Abbott. Well, that's probably what I would do. I would just go straight across sideways to Sean Abbott or someone around, or you can downgrade and free up some cash and change your team up before lockout on game 1.
That's right. Yeah. So if he's out, I've already thought of this strategy. If he's out, I'll bring in Spencer Johnson, and then I'll be upgrading, say, a Hayden Kerr into Tom Rogers, who has a single double in the first 3 weeks.
Nice. I like that.
Yep. So, we digress anyway. Next, Rashid Khan. The Afghani master is a highlight reel into himself. He's hard to pick, especially his wrong and his ability to excite and motivate his team. Mates, it is fun to watch. He does get up and about. That's not the only reason why I'm picking him, though, believe it or not, even though I do like to watch him bowl. He has an average of 85 Supercoach points against Brisbane in his last 3 games. So even though I believe he's on a single in the first week, If he gets me 85
Yep.
points, that's more than what some players will get in double weeks. So that doesn't bother me at all with that. He has improved his lower order batting as well and is able to get bat on ball a little better these days compared to the earlier stages in his career. He's got a best bowling of 6 for 17 at an average of 17 and a strike rate of 16, which is insane in this format. He also strikes the ball at 150 and has an average of 12. So if he gets some late order runs, gets his 20 at the strike rate of 150, that's potentially 40 bonus points or 20 bonus points, 20 runs.
He's the guy you just want to have in your team because it's Rashid Khan. You know, like how good he's been in Australia and how much the Australian crowds love him and what he's done for Adelaide. He seemed a little bit disgruntled at the back end of last year and said he wasn't coming back, but here he is. He's back in the blue, which is great.
Ta-da.
Great for Big Bash cricket. It looks like we're not going to have him for the full year again, though. It's very rare that we get him for the full season. It looks like there's potential that he might even be gone by round 6. So you might even get him only get him for 4 games. So, and it's an easy trade out. Hopefully he makes you enough cash in the round 3 bye. He won't, but round 1, 2, 4, and 5. If he ends up going to the South Africa T20 tournament, he'll leave round 6. If he doesn't, Afghanistan have a T20 series against India, which means he'll potentially be gone by round 7. So we're pretty much without him for the last 3 weeks or 3 rounds of the competition, potentially 4. But he's a good guy to have at the start of the year. It's the only thing deterring him for me is the round 1 single. If I really want him, I might grab him in round 2 and just cop the buy and put him on the bench for round 3.
Yeah, gotcha. Who we got next? The Stoin, who may or may not be in a relationship with Adam Zampa. That's yet to be confirmed. How close they are is just phenomenal, isn't it? It's like stepbrothers all over again with those two. One of the best BBL players we've had in this league for over a decade, and is at a discounted price as well, at only 116k, and is a batsman bowler. Has an average of almost 35 with the bat, a strike rate of 135 at the top of the order, and has taken 38 wickets in 41 matches. He did open the bowling for Australia's T20 series against South Africa as well. So will he open the bowling at the Stars? Potentially, but I'm picking him to bowl his 3 overs comfortably. For me, it's him and Maxwell that are the first picked in this side.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. And with the Stars having a bye in round 2, and they're the only team on the bye in round 2, you basically got to make sure that you're not picking more than probably 3 Stars players to start.
That's right.
And Maxwell and Stoinis make it super easy for you. You can pop one in the batsman slot, one in the bowler's slot, and shove them straight into the bench in round 2, and you're all sorted. So, another no-brainer for me, honestly. Strikes the ball at 150 plus, bowls, could get his overs, should bat top 4. What more do you want for a guy that can smoke him the way that he does? So it's just a shame that we're not going to see the little kind of love relationship Marcus Stoinis and Adam Zampa have together this year, now that Zampa's over at the Renegades. So we'll see. The Melbourne Derby is going to be an interesting one this year with those two.
Yeah, won't it? Yeah, it will be. Yes. Let's talk about Hamish McKenzie sitting on my bench. So not many people know about him, but I've done a little bit of digging on him. So as a local WA product, he bowls the Michael Bevan, the left-arm Chinaman. Love it. So he makes his way into my side, partly because he's only 42k, but also because they've got some pretty big raps on him over there as Ashton Ager's backup. He's a cheap option, but has the form on the board to potentially get a crack at the top level here in BBL, given that he's the most prolific wicket taker in WA state cricket last year. Yes, he will be Ashton Ager's backup, so you probably won't see him early on, but took 2 for 27 in a warm-up game for WA against India in 2022 in a T20. You heard much about this bloke?
I haven't. And you probably hit the nail on the head. Maybe he doesn't start. Maybe he isn't in the lineup to get started, but the fact that he's 42k does 2 things for you. One, it frees up cash to use elsewhere. If you're short, you're saving potentially 20, 30k from another option there at the bottom. And 2, it gives you a loop option, which we haven't talked about yet, and we'll probably have to talk about the VC loop in a future episode, but it's so valuable having that VC loop option, especially in BBL Supercoach, where you don't really get penalised like you would in NRL. You don't lose points or anything like that. You don't have to sacrifice a player to your bench or anything for the NRL viewers that are tuning into BBL for the first time. It's basically a plug and play with an emergency system like AFL has. So having a VC loop option in your bat bowl slot, my only preference would be that my loop player is a dual position player so that I can slide them up and down and use my loop in both the bat and bowl column. But I do like it. I like it because there's potential there. And we talked about Cooper Connolly last year so much. The guy was on it. He basically earned the nickname Looper Connolly because of how many times everyone used him for the VC loophole. So could Mackenzie be that guy? Yeah. Maybe.
And then he ended up,
he'll make cash.
Yeah, and then he ended up playing at the back end of the year, didn't he? Oh,
yep.
Looper Connolly. Yeah,
he did.
He caught me out one game. Yeah, won't make that
did you have the captain
again.
on him?
Yeah, I did. He didn't score too many either. Oh, no. Anyway, I digress. We've got two more players to talk about. Mitch Swepson out, my other player on the bench. So Swepson at 21K is real juicy. Were you aware that he is the greatest wicket taker for Brisbane in BBL?
I wasn't aware of it. I'm not overly surprised. He had a pretty ordinary season last year, though, didn't he?
He did, yeah. So he's still bowling at an economy rate of 7.5 and a strike rate of 23 to back that up. He isn't a great threat with the bat, though, so he's just bowler only. He is in a battle with Kuhnemann, but I can see them coexisting in the same side. We know Kuhnemann's probably got the runs on the board, so to speak, with form at the moment and being the number one spinner, but I think they both can play in the same side.
Yeah, they did that a fair bit last year. Kuhnemann, obviously, a little bit more of a defensive style left-arm orthodox bowler. Swepson's the guy the leggy that wants to rip the ball as far as he can and throw the ball up there and entice a top edge or something. So they're both very different bowlers and both have their spot, I think, in this side. Pretty sewn up unless Swepson starts slowly again.
Yep. And my last pick with the bowlers is a dual position bat bowler. It is Hayden Kerr from the Sydney Sixers. Does a bit of everything, bowls it quite well, a little bit slippery, bats in the top 5. I quite like him, Nath. He's there at the moment, so there's a little bit of movement to be had still with my team, especially if Nisa's out. I'll be translating, as we said before, him into Spencer Johnson, then Hayden Kerr potentially into a Tom Rogers. So he's just a placeholder there at the moment, but if he's to stay, he's quite capable on both sides of the bat or ball.
Showed that last year, didn't he? Can bowl through the middle. He can bowl at the death. He's going to get a hit at anywhere from 4 to 6 potentially. Yeah, I like it. 141K isn't really his top price, ceiling price either, is it? So
no,
you're getting him at a bit of a discount there, I think.
So that is the team of the big horses, mate.
I like it. Is that the team name, the Big Horses?
It's not. Horses for courses.
Nice. I knew a horse would be in there somewhere. Love it.
Has to be.
How good's that? Mate, covered your team. We'll cover mine very quickly, but we'd be doing a bit of a disservice if we didn't give a shout out to Ryan from Astute Newstead. So for anybody who wants to get into the home market or the housing market, maybe you're not quite sure how to do it, maybe you're not sure, maybe you're a homeowner, but you're not sure if your interest rate is where it needs to be and you get it a bit cheaper, just hit up Ryan from Astute Newstead. He'll look after you with a no obligation free consult. It won't cost you a thing. All you need to do is mention us, mention the Insight Fantasy Sports team. When you hit him up, you can contact him at Ryan Astute Newstead on Instagram to send him a DM, or you can reach him at ryanh@eganwealth.com. So we both work with Ryan personally. He's helped us both out with our home loans, with everything going on in the world with interest rates at the moment. It was... he did us both a solid there and looked after us and got us a really competitive rate. So, and we've got friends that have worked with Ryan and everybody says 5-star things about Ryan. So, hit him up. He'll look after you. Just mention us and you'll get a free consult just to talk about your situation. If there's anything that you want to kind of talk through, or you just let him know where you're at and he'll give you some options in terms of which way you can go.
Just don't mention his golf swing. It's bloody ordinary.
I missed that golf day. I'm going to have to try and play catch up and play with him next time I'm up in Brizzy.
Yeah.
All right, mate. So let's tackle my team now. We'll just quickly change screens very quickly. All right, we'll slide over to mine. So starting with wicket keepers. Now I've got Ben McDermott. We don't need to double up on him. You've explained him pretty well. I mean, he's gone from the second best Supercoach player in 21-22 to the 64th best in 22-23. He's one of those guys that he can score you 150. So you don't even have to think twice, I don't think, about picking him at 88K. It's ridiculous. The other guy, and one guy that you don't have is Sam Billings that I have in my wicketkeeper slot up top. So he's 116K. He's coming off a 37.8 average last season. Heater on the triple game week, and that's probably what led me here in terms of schedule is looking at Sam Billings. He should keep a similar role batting at 3. for the Heat, but obviously he's unlikely to keep. He's not going to keep wickets. They've got Jimmy Pearson there. He's the regular man behind the wickets there. But this is the cheapest that he started a season since entering the BBL in 2016-17. So this is the cheapest you're going to get him at to start the season in 6 seasons. So, and, English guy, reverse sweeps, paddles, plays 360 degrees around the wicket. I think Sam Billings is a guy that's going to be quite popular when we get a little bit closer to the season starting, once people look at the schedule or once they listen to the podcast and I talk them into it. That's when everyone's going to start adding Sam Billings. But he's going to play the first 7 rounds as well. So he's going to go to the ILT20 tournament with a few other of the imports. And aside from his 78 against Adelaide last year, that contributed to 159 in his double game round in round 3. He was pretty disappointing last season, which is why we're getting him at a bit of a discount this year. So the discount aside, I still think he's probably worth 160. So you can save yourself a bit of coin with Sam Billings. What are your thoughts there?
I love that. I love the fact that you've brought up the little sweeping and paddle shots that he plays, because he'd be up there with Maxwell as the best players at that in the comp. When he's on, he's amazing to watch. Top 5 to watch for me.
Yeah, so technically correct as well. I love watching him bat. So, at the worst case, if you're not a Supercoach, really competitive Supercoach player, and you just want to pick some players to watch that are fucking elegant and look great, you can pick Sam Billings up and you'll enjoy yourself.
He's one.
Mate, that's my wicket keepers. We won't talk about McDermott. In my batting slot, my first is Tom Curran. Now, he's a guy that you didn't have. He's at import price, 180k. He actually hasn't had a really extended stint in the tournament for a couple of years now. So he hasn't played a full season since 2019-20. And in that season, he was the 6th best player in Supercoach. He is dual position bat bowler. He was 5th best player the year before that. So we're talking about a guy in 18-19 who was the 5th best player and 19-20 who was the 6th best player. 71.5 and 73 average in those 2 seasons. In Supercoach, I'm talking. Will get overs. He'll likely bowl the middle overs, but he's skilled enough to bowl at the death as well. He's got a really good slower ball. So they can use him in a number of different ways, Tom Curran. He is getting on a little bit now, though. He hasn't played international cricket for probably a good 5-6 years now for England, but he's a regular on the T20 circuit. So for me, I like where he's at. He's going to play a double game week to start for the Sixers. He's in a good team as well, which definitely helps, and he should probably bat around 7 and 8 maybe. So he could get a stick on occasion as well. Yeah.
Yep.
So...
I remember him being a gun, but just haven't seen much of him in the last couple of years.
Yeah, he's only played 4 games last year, and then didn't play any the year before that. So he hasn't been around that much in the last couple of years. But I think if we go off pedigree, we know the guy's quality. It's just has that dropped off in the last couple of years. So that's the question mark. Colin Munro, I've got him as well, mate, and you do too. So we won't kind of dive in. And again, we spoke about availability. Maybe he's not available round 1, which will make it then a pretty easy decision to kind of leave him out and move that cash to someone else. So we've got plenty of good options there. He should open the batting with Josh Brown, I think, is the way that the Heat line up. Should be Munro, Brown and Billings, top 1, 2, 3. So those guys are going to be the ones to look at. I know Josh Brown is another very popular option. He's dirt cheap as well, and we saw what he did last year when he banged them all over the place in his debut. So he's another nice option for your bench.
Yeah.
The risk for me, and this is probably why you're going to see a lot of all-rounders and a lot of batsman bowlers in my Supercoach team, is because when you're picking guys that are batsman only and they in the game only bat, the issue for me is that you cop a good rock, that's your game. And you're walking away from this Supercoach game with fucking 4 points. Whereas if you've got someone who bats and bowls, you cop a good rock, that's fine. That's all well and good. But then you can go out and you can bowl your 3 overs and try and snag a couple back. So you've got a bit of a second chance, I guess, for these guys that do both in this format. And it kind of punishes the batsman only in this competition. What are your thoughts on that?
I love that you've explained that, because when I started, I'm like, yep, I'm going to get the blokes that make all the runs, and didn't really think too much about wickets because T20 cricket is a batsman's game. But you're right, you get one good seed. 1, you're going to hear about it from your mates in the shed, but 2, you're going to end up with fuck all points. So, yeah, definitely take that advice on board, guys. The more dual position players like I've tried to do, the better, because you can get points in a variety of ways instead of just having to rely on runs on the board.
And the keepers get rewarded pretty well too with stumpings and catches and things like that. You get a nick off a pretty easy catch. There's your 10 for a catch, and then you get, I think, 20 for a stumping or something. It might be 15 or 20 points. So it's pretty hefty.
Yeah, right.
So, mate, moving into Joe Clark. I know you didn't have Joe Clark, did you?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
And now that I've seen it, I'm like, how did I not have Joe Clark in my side? This man can bat, seriously bat.
Fuck. I mean, for anybody who watched the Melbourne Stars closely last year, Joe Clark was in the thick of it nearly all year. Now he's gone over to a contender in, I guess, the other Melbourne team. He's gone over to the Renegades. Funnily enough, Supercoach don't have his stats in there at all. It doesn't have any previous season stats. So I think they'll probably get onto that in the coming weeks. So don't be fooled. He has played BBL for a number of years. And the only issue is his T10 league availability. He's another guy in this Abu Dhabi T10 league that finishes on the 9th of December. So it finishes a couple of weeks after, a couple of days after the BBL kicks off. So that's one thing, again, you're going to have to look at. Munro and Clark, both of these guys, and Nisa, and anybody else who is considered to be someone who is in that tournament. It's going to be, you're going to have to keep an eye out very, very closely for the back end of that and the start of the season. But he scored the 7th most runs last year in the BBL. 381 runs at 29, strike rate of 124, does his job, hits the ball when he needs to, nurdles it around when he needs to if the other batsman's on fire and keeping them on strike. So he's very smart batsman, will wicket keep as well for the Renegades. So I think he's someone to consider at 139k.
And he's still only sitting at 11% picked in teams too. Do you think that's because his stats aren't readily available to look up, and players or people aren't aware of how good this guy is? Because these numbers should jump out at you. This guy is a freak with the bat.
Yeah, quality player. I think maybe, people are looking through the stats and going, this guy hasn't played yet. I don't know about him. For anybody who's maybe casual or doesn't follow BBL that much. So go and Google Joe Clark, Melbourne Stars, and you can just enjoy some highlights there of what he did the last couple of years.
Yeah. Make sure the door's shut. You got a packet of tissues because it's a good time.
It is a very good time. Wouldn't judge. Wouldn't judge at all.
No.
No. We don't need to speak about Maxi again, mate, do we? The guy, he picks himself. We mentioned earlier that there's a good chance he gets his bowling overs in as well. Super cheap for what he is. He's got a double to start. You can worry about the bye next week later. Dual position, lock him in. He should be your first pick. I'm going to go out and say he should be your first pick this year.
Yeah.
I've got Josh Philippe in the batting slot as well. So you'll notice I've actually got 4 batsman wicketkeepers in my team. 2 up in the wicketkeeper slot, but then 2 in the batsman slot too. Reason for this is so that I can kind of maneuver my wicketkeepers up and down where I want. So potentially, if I've got 2 wicketkeepers that I want to bench or whatever, or I want to start one up in the wicketkeeper slot one week, I can shove Joe Clark up to start. I can drop Billings to the bench in the batsman slot. It just gives me a lot more versatility to be able to move players up and down by having a wicketkeeper in my batsman slot as well. So I definitely recommend people do that to start their season. And there's so many fucking good options, isn't there? I mean, let's add Quinton de Kock in this conversation, because he is absolutely smoking them everywhere whenever he picks a bat up.
Did you see the man? He scored 174 last night off 130, made it look like light work. And that was in a team that scored only, 330, I think they scored in the end. That man is seriously talented.
And you know what concerns me about that is that he's wasting all of his runs. Keep some, mate. Keep some in the pack so that when you come to BBL, you can score some over here for us. Yeah. Because the risk here is that he goes and fucking smokes him, then he comes over to Australia, goes duck, and everyone gets the shits with him like they did with a few players last year.
Yep. Yes,
180k for Quinton de Kock as well, so he's not cheap.
No, but I think from memory, I'll have to Google this and have a look, but from memory, he does like the extra pace and bounce of the Australian decks. So if he gets here and is available early, remember Renegades have a single double in the first 3 weeks. Could be a really nice option.
Yep. Yep, for sure. And 180K, you know, that's a Tom Curran price. Maybe I get to a point where I just go, yeah, DeCock can come in for Curran or something, or I shove a few things around. I think I've got 30K in the bank. So I could probably even do Munro to Quinton DeCock if the availability suits. And Quinton DeCock is another guy, unfortunately, that could miss round one due to that Abu Dhabi tournament. So keep an eye out for him as well. Who else have we got? Not talking about Philippi, you already have. Marcus Stoinis on the bench. You've already spoken about him and Darcy Short. So that rounds out my bench. At the moment, I've got Marcus Stoinis on my bench. I'm not going to play him in week one, even though the Stars are on a double. I could easily move him down, though, with dual position into the bowler's slot if I wanted to. But I'm just not 100% confident. The form-wise, he's not in the greatest form either. He had a bad year last year. So he's just a guy that you've got to have a free swing at 116K, I think. Because, 2-3 years ago, the guy was the top run scorer and just bombed them everywhere for fun.
Yeah, didn't he? I'm just looking it up here, just for those of you that are querying the wicketkeeper choice. It's 15 points for a stumping, 20 points for a run out, and 10 points for a catch.
Perfect. Yep. Awesome. All right, let's talk bowlers, mate. I've got Michael Neser as well. I've got him as my captain. If he plays and he plays all three, or his availability's fine, he's a lock for me. So I don't think we really need to talk too much about him. We already kind of went into that there. But yeah, PM's 11 is a concern. He could play that. His wife could give birth to twins in December. He could get picked for Australia in the first test against Pakistan. There's a heap of different things to consider here. But we also spoke about Aaron Hardy, mate. So we can probably move on from him. But I've got Neser and Hardy down in the bowler's slot for me. And hoping that Hardy gets a bowl. I think that there's so much value in him coming off a career BBL year last year. And no Mitch Marsh this year, likely to be the all-rounder in the test squad for the test series this year. Hardy should maintain that same role. So, The next one, though, that you didn't have is Adam Zampa. Now, again, Renegade's schedule probably enticing me a little bit here. We look at Zampa's stats, and I mean, 130K seems like a pretty good discount for the Australian T20 leggy. Like, proving it on the biggest stage. There's no availability questions. He won't be playing Test cricket this summer for Australia. And also, Australia don't play any white ball cricket until February. So he's not going to miss any time. He's not contracted to any of the T20 leagues or anything like that. He's not going to leave early. And he's a senior player in that squad. So, Adam Zampa's a nice one for me. I'm not 100% locked on him. I'm not set on having him in my team, but I think he's a really good asset and a guy that will get his 4 overs in. He'll bowl in the middle. He'll be pretty economical for the majority of the time. He's got good variety as a leggy. So
he does. Yeah,
I'm gonna hopefully start with him and see how we go. What are your thoughts on Zampa? Is he someone you've toyed with?
Yeah, he is. And for the reasons that you've just mentioned, that he does have really good bowling variety. His leggy's nice. It's hard to pick. You've seen a lot of international players get fooled by the wrong un in the past. At the moment, if anything, the schedule's very favourable for him. I've picked Rashid Khan over him at the same price, just given Rashid Khan's ability to go much larger than Zampa. And
Rashid Khan better with the bat as well. So there's your
definitely.
advantage there if he gets to stick. Yep. Yeah, fair call. Spencer Johnson, we already talked about him. Mate, he got 5 wickets in his first 5 games in BBL 12. The guy bowls gas, like 150 odd Ks an hour. Did he have 3 for 1 or 4 overs or something in a T20 comp recently overseas?
It was 3 months ago, 3 for 1 with, it was like 22, was it? No, 20. It would have been
23
19
dot balls
or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well, yeah, it would have been 23. Yeah. That's just insane, isn't it? For anyone, like a leg spinner, off spinner, fast bowler, you name it. Like that's insane. But you've hit the nail on the head. This guy bowls rockets. Like it's him and Lance Morris from Perth, the next breed coming through that really throw them down. They're really slippery.
And I think also the advantage that these quicker bowlers, these 150 plus bowlers have is that they bowl a lot of dot balls. Sure, their economy rate might not be amazing, but fuck, they get the ball past the bat a lot. And obviously every dot ball is a point. Those start to add up. If you can get 3 for 1 in a T20 off your full allotment of overs, yeah, you've got to be a fucking good player to do that. So, yeah, I feel like this guy's going to be popular. Add in the triple game week, add in the no issues with availability. He's also a lock for me.
What's he like with the bat? I haven't actually researched his batting statistics. Have you seen him with the bat at all, or is he a proper tail ender?
Nah, not amazing. Yeah. Okay. I'd say he'll bat 9, 10, 11 at best. Yeah.
Okay.
Ashton Agar's my last pick. You picked his backup. I'm picking him. 106k batsman bowler. Will get 4 overs done. Should bat 7 or 8. I think Hobson might bat 7. Agar bats 8. But I think the reason he was down on form last year is coming in from a career low average last year, at the lowest year that he's had in Supercoach. But he didn't bat that much. I think he only had 3 bats the whole BBL. So normally this guy is a guy that would chip in with the bat at the bottom order. He'd get you a quick 30 off 12, 13 balls or something. You get your strike rate bonus. You get 50, 55 points basically from his batting in a game. And then he goes out and jags 2 for 20 or something like that. You've got yourself 100. Whereas he didn't get the chance to bat last year. So I look at Scorcher's top order and I don't see them being as strong as last year. They've lost a couple of key pieces. Bancroft's gone to the Thunder and a few other guys. So do I feel like he's going to get more opportunity with the bat? Yes, I think so. And he's still going to be bowling as he normally would. That's his prime role in this squad. So, I think he's a guy that I'm not 100% locked on, but Scorcher's on the double in game week 1 is nice. So, yeah, that's probably getting me there for him.
Yeah, sort of tossing up between, you got double game week, then single game 2 and 3, then 2 weeks off into 2 double game weeks. So whether you pick him up early, see how he goes, or whether you just wait it out and then pick him up for 4 games in 2 weeks in round 6 and 7.
Yep. It's going to be a very fine, for anybody watching or has been playing NBL Supercoach, it's very similar with BBL. You get max trades, so you can't run out. So you can't run out of trades. You get 2 boosts this season. I think 26 trades or whatever it is in 9 rounds. So if you do the math, you actually can't run out. They've planned it so that you can't run out. So basically, if you get to round 3 and you've got 2 or 3 Perth Scorchers in your team, you just fucking trade them all out after round 3 because they're not going to play for 2 weeks. So, you just move them all out and then you can get them back. You know, that's the beauty of it. You're not going to run out of trades. So you've just got to plan your moves ahead. You've got to not just think about this week. You've got to think, what does my next 2, 3, 4 weeks of trades looks like? Because in this format, because you can't run out, you need to be really tactical with how you use your trades. So we're going to be talking about that a lot in future episodes as well. But if you're starting with a lot of Scorchers, just be wary of round 4 and 5 and plan to move those guys out by then.
For sure.
Swepson, you talked about him. I think he's pretty popular as well. I think he's owned by more than 30% of super coaches at the moment for good reason. Bit of a free hit on him. And Peter Siddle is a guy you didn't have, but I do. I'm still not sold on it. I actually changed it this afternoon. I can't remember who I did have in, but I put Siddle in for the schedule for Renegades. The fact that he should, if they've signed him, they're going to play him. Good death bowler, bowls up front. My only concern is that he won't have the same role that he used to have in Adelaide. And I don't really expect him to at his age. But he went from being the leading wicket taker in BBL 11 to basically a nobody last year that did nothing. So does the new scenery maybe in the Renegades in Melbourne, does that rejuvenate him? Does that help him? You've got Kane Richardson and Tom Rogers there who are going to be the frontline quicks as well. You've got Zampa and Majib are going to be the spinners. And you've got Nathan Lyon on the books as well once the tests are done. I mean, you've also got the chief, Sutherland as the 5th bowler as well. So, I mean, potentially Siddle could be one of 6 bowlers here that could get overs. So...
Yeah, for me, he's the bowler when everyone else rests. So
yeah, I agree with that.
I was lucky enough as a kid to play a little bit of representative cricket with Peter Siddle, and he was slippery back then. Needless to say, he's gone on to have much better cricketing career than me, sitting in the thirds at my local cricket club. But I think, given his age, I think it's T20 cricket. It's fast. It's into it. You know, he's 37, 38 years of age now. I think they stick with what they've got there, and that he's only bowling when others are having a rest.
Yeah. I'll probably be able to drop a few stories in the near future on these podcasts, but I've actually had a night out with Peter Siddle. So that was it was good fun. Very, very good bloke. Maybe that's why I'm picking him. Maybe I'm biased. Bought me too many vodka Red Bulls.
Yeah, right. And at 29% ownership as well. There you go.
Yeah, mate. I think people are picking him based on what they know the name, Peter Siddle. You know, but yeah, the role is cloudy at the moment. So let's just see how that looks. The Renegades and guys like Kane Richardson are going to get rotated a fair bit too. So look, it's definitely not out of the question that Peter Siddle plays regularly. It just depends on how many overs he gets and what his role is within this team. He's not probably going to bowl death. So yeah, it's very cloudy with Siddle, but he's a bit of a placeholder for me as well. A lot of these guys on the bench, we're going to know a lot more in 4 or 5 weeks' time when we get a little bit closer. We hear more news from the squads and start to get some intra-club and practice matches happening. We're going to see a lot more then. So just to kind of reiterate, this is a first draft. This is kind of the first team we've slapped together after looking at the schedule and looking at a little bit on last year. But yeah, these are going to change a lot, Mick.
Absolutely. Like AFL, like NRL, like BBL, you pick your side. And then as it gets closer, you keep changing your teams until you're sort of locked into a team. So, well, personally, I can't wait for this to start. We've got 43 days, 2 hours, 48 minutes, and 45 seconds left. Let's get it on.
Good. That's it. I'm looking forward to it. Mate, that'll do for episode 1, I reckon. We've gone team reveals to get things started. We'll also reveal our team 1 or 2 more times before the end of the preseason, just so that everyone knows the adjustments and the changes that we're making. Like I said at the start of the show, we've got plenty of content coming. We're nearly 20 episodes talking different positional analysis. We're going to do a team preview on every single team once the squads are finalised as well. We'll talk schedule and tons of other stuff, mate. And most importantly, for the next 6 weeks, if you haven't subscribed, you're not going to get the notifications. You're not going to know that we've put the video up. So do yourself a favour, hit like on this episode, and then hit subscribe so you don't miss any future ones. You can even hit the little bell, and it'll tell you, and it'll send you a notification saying Insight Fantasy Sports put up a new video, and then you don't have to go searching for it. How fucking good's that?
Oh, delicious.
So we'll do schedule analysis next, mate.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that because that's a big part of Supercoach, isn't it? That you work out schedule, you pick your better players or your players that you think are going to score well. And the beauty for those at home, as Nath just said, we do the work for you. Like, subscribe. We'll fill you in on what teams are playing, when they're playing, and the best players from the best teams to get in. All you have to do is listen to what we have to say, and happy days.
That's it. Plenty more coming. Guys, thanks for watching. Just a reminder, hit like and subscribe. Help us out. If you're listening to us on audio, make sure to follow and leave us a review so we can reach more people, get the content pumping. Look forward to seeing you next time. We'll catch you then.